So thank you so much, Danilo and Patricia, for joining us at TransAtlantic Panorama. We are very happy, not only because you are a wonderful artist and composer, but also because everything you do, and you do it together, is very much related to what we are doing and promoting at TransAtlantic Panorama in terms of all your humanitarian efforts and artistic and educational efforts as well. So it's a real privilege. Thank you so much. When I was preparing for this interview, there was a term that popped up all the time in relation to your work, and that was the canal. Could you please share with us a little bit what does the canal mean to you, maybe on a primary level and also on a more metaphoric level?
Well, the Panama Canal is, it represents for us the link. We're proud of the Panama Canal because it showcased the potential of a country, how geography blesses us and also curses us in a way. So, but the Panama Canal has given us the opportunity to recognize the power of globalization, the power of being an interconnector, the power that you have when you have the whole world literally passing through your eyes every day, basically. And since I was a kid, I remember standing away and looking at the Panama Canal and also the Bridge of the Americas, which is the exact point where the lands unite. The North American and South American unite in the Bridge of the Americas. And it's right where the canal, the exit towards the Pacific. And I remember just looking at it and going, wow, I want to make music that gives you this feeling. I want to make music that has a common tone with, I want to find the common tone of the world. That's what I was thinking since I was a kid. I would like to make music that has this quality, that is inviting, that is globalized, that is a connector with the world. So that's, for me, the Panama Canal always meant that to me. It had a very, very important meaning. It also meant the invasion that USA did in Panama, not only USA, but other countries, the European countries, during the recognizing the power, the geographical position that we have. So it always provided the temptation for us to be a passing, as my wife, as you call it, as you say, a passing tone. Panama being a passing tone, which is something that you're just there for a little minute and then just move on. And that's a challenge.
It seems like it's a nice route for jazz.
Well, interesting enough, she's actually have become a lot more knowledgeable about this because she started to actually she's writing a book about it.
Yeah, the relationship between Panama and the United States through jazz music, and how Panama has been related to the United States, not only through military relationships, but also through musical relationships. And what has happened is that through many years of research, we found that jazz is almost native from Panama too, and it has given us a door to see jazz more like a Pan-African experience than just a North American experience, because since the 1850s, boats and ships from New York specifically and New Orleans came to Panama for different reasons, especially because it was cheaper and more safe to go to Panama, cross the transatlantic railroad, which the United States helped create, and go to California during the gold rush in the 1850s, but then later also use during the Panama Canal construction as a route to go from New York, from East Coast to West Coast.
And I imagine growing up looking at a country that it has another country and you cannot go, you cannot, that feeling, you know, and recognizing that we were a connector, that we were a strategic position for the world,
Blocked.
but it was blocked. And that's why, you know, as an artist, it was always my desire to use the elements that the canal provide, that the Bridge of the Americas provide to the world, but also use music to create a cultural passport where you don't need the normal passport to get in and out. And that would prevent invasion. It wasn't necessary, the invasion, you know.
So your native language is Spanish, but you are fluent in English, and as your third language is music and jazz in particular. Patricia, you are also a jazz musician.
Yes.
I'm not mistaken. So what's your experience about music being a channel of communication?
Music being a channel of communication. I have many experiences that speak to this miracle, what I call it. One of them is when I was 10 years old, our washing machine got broken, and the guy came to fix it. He worked on it for a whole day. My father and I would be jamming all the time. My father is a singer. So we would be playing all day together, and around 5, 6 o'clock, we took a little break. The guy finished fixing the washing machine. He was in the back, and he's leaving. So my father said, "Here is a shredded carrot, and you're gonna play the widow." And he goes, "No, I don't play music." He said, "No, yes, everybody comes here has to play." So he gave it to him, and he's playing it. So the guy, he hasn't got paid yet. He hasn't got the money yet, so he can't leave. So he got into, oh yeah, ooh, he felt like really good about it. 15 minutes, and my father said, "Okay, how much we owe you?" He goes, "I can't charge you. I can't charge you because I feel bad if I charge you because the happiness and the joy you gave me from allowing me to play this shredded carrot, it doesn't have a value. I can't put a price on it. I would feel bad. You know, I have to pay you for these experiences." So that was one. The other one was, I had a concert in Panama scheduled for December 22nd of 1989, and the USA invaded Panama in December 20. And while all of that was going on, we felt like it was the end of the world. It was the end of my life. And you know what I decided? And being young, I said, I want to die. If we're going to die, we're going to die playing music. And I decided, I called my friend, and he arranged a concert in a little club. But we had people from against United States, pro-United States, against what was going on in Panama at that time. I mean, it was very tense, the relationships. And everybody was scared. There was a curfew. They were still looking for Noriega, our dictator. And I decided to play in the middle of that. And what happened those 3 hours, I will never forget, which was music neutralized the emotions of everybody and brought it to one place. The place of joy, the place of hope, at least for that moment.
At TransAtlantic Panorama, we are searching for and promoting cultural connections. And I wanted to ask you, what's your standpoint about the value of discovering or building cultural bridges?
We are in a deadline in humanity right now. We're in a deadline, and culture is one of our most important tools in the moment that we're living right now to create the necessary antidotes against the degradation of humanity. And I believe that if we don't use culture in an appropriate way, if we don't go there all the way, committed, we're going to find ourselves in which I feel that we started hitting these areas of dark ages, as we say. Culture is where we should tap into to release all the good stuff that could happen for us to redirect humanity in the right way. It's just, the art has to be used. We have to go to those levels of commitment with this, with culture, art, music, because I feel this is one of the few last resources we have to redirect humanity. Our behavior has gotten to a point of degradation that we have to rescue it. And I believe that the young voice is going to play an important role. But I also think that the use of this, to use culture to create antidote, is where we should be spending all our energy. This is what creates a sustainable world. That's what I think. What do you think?
Yeah, well, first, I'd like to add that music is not only a way to communicate, but it's a holistic experience, and it's a whole experience. So I think those were the examples that Danilo gave, the two examples of him playing in the middle of a war zone, for example. That doesn't only communicate, but that actually make peace, make understanding in the moment. So it's a much powerful tool, much more powerful than what we think, and it has always been like that. 40,000 years ago, the caveman did not paint caves that were not resonating well. Some of the caves found in the south of France, for example, they were caves that provided an incredible resonance and sound, and those were the ones that were painted, not the other ones. 500 years ago, Confucius was 500 years before Christ. It was Confucius who said, depending on the music and what's happening in the music, you're going to have a society that is more or less corrupt. And then later, music has been used throughout humanity for every change, for good change, but also for bad change. So this is, we're at the moment where educating ourselves on how to use these tools for the betterment of society is crucial. Is the most important we need to do right now.
Yeah.
You are coming from a very diverse country. Panama, as I understand, is a very diverse country.
Yeah.
And ever since you moved to the United States, you are working with musicians from all around the world, and you are touring, and I'm sure you get a lot of impacts, cultural impacts from many directions.
Right.
How can you maintain your personal and musical identity while being influenced by so many additional directions, cultural directions?
I had to tell you, I heard the other day about Guillermo del Toro, and they were asking him in Mexico, so that's great, you won the Oscars and all of that, and he says, somebody asked him, but what is your movies have of Mexican? What is Mexican in your movies? Like, what is it, the style of Mexican? And he goes, me. So I just, with that, I resonate very well because, my wife can tell you, I love my country. So I have used the opportunity that I have been the universe and God and that's provided that to have all these experiences, but I always come from where I come from. I always take it back to where I came from. I don't forget ever. I live in eternal gratitude for all the people in my country. And even if I dislike when they behave in a certain way, I have the capacity to forgive and to forget that only Panama does it to me, as I am learning to do it in United States too, now, which I think that's the power of my country: the land, the Panama Canal, the bridge, the sancocho, the food, the dresses, memories. I don't think I can. That makes me resonate in life. If I forget that, I feel like I become something else, and that's not gonna happen.
You also have a recording titled Motherland.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I have a record called Motherland. I have a song called Panama 2000, Galactic Panama, Panama Libre,
Panama 500.
Panama 500. My life has been, I've been wanting to tell the story of my country, but not from a very conservative point of view, a very progressive point of view, and with hope always.
It seems that education and performing arts are very well united in your life, and whenever you perform, I guess it has an educational value as well, and when you teach, I saw some of the video recordings of yours, so sometimes it sounds like a performance. So I just wanted to ask you, why did you start to teach, and what have you got from teaching?
Well, that's another thing. You know, that's why you know, to have this chemistry. You know, she's from Chile, and a brilliant mind, and I've learned a lot. But one of the things that I feel that I've grown into is to realize not only Panama, but also the relationship with my parents. And my father happens to be, and my mother, both the educators, but my father had a vision and a point of view about how to use music to enhance the educational experience and to really nurture your creativity and make you love studying all your life. He used music to teach mathematics, to teach geography, poetry, I mean, all kind of stuff. And he started this in the 60s. He started doing this with underprivileged kids, and of course, he did that with me too. So before I could say anything, I could go ta 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 ta, and then he would say, that means, how are you? I'm fine, you know, stuff like that, you know. He would say, 2 + 2 is 4, 4 + 2 is 6, 6 + 2 is 8, and he would be in this repetitive, using music, using rhythms. And I realized that I was sort of like homeschooling somehow in my home. And, you know, I never wanted to teach because I felt that they didn't make enough money, they were always struggling. I felt society wasn't fair with the amount of work they were giving, which is true in many places, you know. And then just one day, one student heard the project I have, The Journey, and he applied in the New England Conservatory, and he said, you know, I would like to study with this musician, and they approved it. And in 1 year, he improved so much. And they said, wait a minute, he has this teacher, but who's this guy? Wait a minute, we don't know this one. Bring him in, we want to hear what he's talking about. And when I came in, I was very well received with the way I was teaching. I used my father's teachings to teach. That was the most formal way of teaching and how I entered in the formal world of education. That was in addition to when I left my country. I've been guiding people. With the help of my father, I've been guiding people. I've been teaching 4 days a year. You know that stuff like that I did. But I never wanted to end up where I end up. And I think
it just happened.
Yeah, it just happened. And I think for me, you know, I have to give a lot of credit to the phrase that Wayne Shorter, when I started working with him, he said, man, you're this, you're a social activist, you're an educator, you're this. I said, yeah, Wayne, but I feel sometimes, managing the everything together. And he said, no, man, write, play, and do what you're doing the way you want the world to be like. And that was it. That everything came together. Blank. Thank you.
I teach in Panama and Chile, in different places in the world, but also my most important teaching, and his most important teaching, is we homeschool our 3 children. So all of the techniques that Danilo's father used with him, now he uses with the children, and we are pretty much teaching our children to love the process of learning, because after you fall in love with that, everything else is possible.
You have an album called Children of the Light. Is the motive, or what does it come from your kids?
Yeah, I like that idea of being living a state of childhood, a state of the childlike. I mean, I like that idea because that makes you be curious. That makes you be even breaking the lines. This is one thing that we have to cope or work with as we get older, learning from the past experience, but not creating blockades or cement your experiences in life. Because then you lose the joy of the creative opportunity that you may have even right now. That things may go in a different way. Like every moment is precious if you look at it from that perspective. That's what I learned from my kids. Now, the Children of the Light is that opportunity we had to create a sustainable, Wayne Shorter experience in our life. We learned so much. I grew so much. I mean, I thought I was learning about music. Of course I learned about music, but it was about the purpose of what we're doing here, who we are, who we want to become. And the first question that Wayne asked me was, why are you afraid of getting married? And I said, what? It's a little too invasive,
How do you know?
It's how do I know? I hear it. That's what he didn't tell me that directly, but I hear it. So I started going into serious philosophical question about who am I and where I wanted to be. And that experience for the 3 of us, for John Patitucci and Brian Blade, has created the amazing family that we all feel like brothers, true brothers.
Oh, it's so obvious.
Yes.
Listening, playing.
It's
such a strong connection.
We're family. Yeah. We're brothers, and we decided, well, brothers, what about if one day we're not playing with the quartet? We must continue this. And John said, oh, there's Children of the Night. He has a song called Children of the Night. We'll just do. Wayne Shorter has a song called Children of the Night, and we will be Children of the Light. And if we ever get together as a trio, that's how we're going to call ourselves. And that's where the Children of the Light came from. And this is our opportunity to further the mission that the universe provided for us. We feel committed to embrace the message we learned from Wayne and continue as long as we can in a form of eternal gratitude to him.
you do not promote perfectionism, but rather making mistakes and
Absolutely.
being able to take risks. However, in our current world, it's all about competition, accomplishments, and about perfectionism. So how would you teach your students, for example, to break through those walls, or how do you break through those walls of expectations?
You know, I heard we saw a movie by Winston Churchill the other day, Gary Oldman, incredible. And he gave the line that I live by, which is, those who don't take risks don't change nothing. And that's my theme. I really, and especially being in the School of Wayne, I really feel that the voice that needs to be heard hasn't been heard yet. And that's what we're seeing in society. You know, what you're saying is like, it never forget when Wayne told me, we were talking in the car, and he said to me, Danilo, you know what I feel? That everybody talk about fairy tales and everybody about like the real world, and this world is real and this is an illusion. He said, sometimes I think, what about if the world we live is reality and what we are perceiving from outside is actually the illusion? That's a make-up world that we're buying into. So the fairy tales, this is the fairy tale. And we were talking about last night about that. We're living the trailer of what's coming and who's leading into. And the main actor we have right now. Ooh. And that's just the trailer.
I often heard you using the term interaction. And I wanted to ask what the value of interaction is in your band or in Wayne Shorter's band, and how those values are translated into your everyday life or your educational work.
Community really tests us. Community tests us. Because if you believe in true democracy, then you have to be a part of a voice that is the sum of the ideas of all the parts. And if you want to play jazz, jazz provides that elemental question. This is your idea, this is his idea, how do we make together a better idea? You know?
Yeah, it's beautiful. But, and you are also able to live this community at a higher level, because when I listened to your music played with Wayne Shorter Quartet, it seemed like the interaction was on a higher level. It was almost like a spiritual level for me. And
thank you. Providing the skills of the instruments, it also it has a connotation to hide behind your instrument sometimes. And if you do it alone, you can hide. But when your ideas that you're bringing to the table get challenged by a better idea or by another clear idea that it cancels yours, and you're willing to start all over again, there's something we learn about humanity there. There's the greatest lesson that we learn from Wayne. There's no beginning and there's no ending.
I've experienced the Wayne Shorter Quartet as an experience that is interconnected. Going back to your question, but not only interconnected, intra-connected. And I've seen inter, multi, multicultural, These are four very different people that not only interconnect their music, but their souls. They're spiritual beings. They all come from very different religious experiences, but they combine their religious experiences into one. It happens that music is the tool they use for their connectivity, and also for the connectivity with the the audience, but also with the world and the universe. So there is lots of levels of interconnection. So pretty much I would say interconnectivity is everything. It's everything in the case of the Wayne Shorter Quartet, not only because they can, and I think, is the reason why they play that music, because it's not detached. The music is not detached from themselves, from their own religious experiences, from their experiences with their families, from their experiences as teachers and mentors. It's simply one whole that, interconnects to another whole being. And then you have this beautiful experience that is almost religious, but it's because of that interconnectivity with everything else. And at the end of the day, the world works like that. Yeah. The world doesn't work in compartments. That's a fantasy. We're interconnecting with everything, and at every level possible, and levels that we probably don't even know. Mm-hmm. So it's all about that.
Since I was a kid, my father always said, you grow as an individual, but you really grow and test your fundamentals in a group. Because anything that you're learning get tested in a group setting. He used to tell me, for example, the biggest test you have is you play piano, you are more, probably you feel like you have a lot of things ahead of all the kids, because I was playing complicated stuff and they were all exciting, all my friends. He said, the first test you got here that music gives you is called ego. And if you ever get your ego out of hands, I'm gonna be the first one knocking at your door, he used to tell me, and put you in your place. Because then you're not using music in the way it should be used. So you need to be tested, and that's how you get tested, in the context of community. And that's what he told me. That makes sense to me from the early time. He said, values like sharing, giving things that you don't need, toys. You give it away, you don't have to use it anymore. Why you have it here? My dad grew up with 15 brothers and sisters, so that was a community right there.
That's how he learned everything.
That's how he learned. And he said, one of the hardest things was eating, he said, because we have to rush into the table, otherwise there was nothing for you, So he really, really embraced that. My family is so big that he really, and my mother too. My mother, for her family, building family, my wife too. It's important, Music can provide this wonderful world, this wonderful illusion of highness and beauty and all of that, but it's also deprive you of the most critical moments that you're living in the present, because you're so stuck on your harmony or your chord or on one note that you're trying to figure out, while the world literally is passing in front of you and you don't see it. And this is something that we as an artist has to cope. There's a degree of delusional and spaciness that being in a group all the time ground us, because we're tested. We can go farther away into our own world, but I think that's very dangerous, especially nowadays. We need the musician in the earth doing the practical work and helping humanity. We are here right now. We gotta save the world.